Alright guys, so what I want to talk about today, and I've mentioned this in one episode prior, and that was in the episode where I detailed the reasons why rational individuals wanted to vote for Donald Trump. What I want to talk to you guys about today is the difference in my eyes between American political culture and European political culture. What do I mean by this? The difference between what I perceive in the more liberty-elevating status of American citizens and the more equality-elevating status of European citizens. So, the realist, what the heck are you talking about here? Well, it is my humble opinion, as I survey the United States of America and I survey Europe, particularly continental Europe, I think the difference that I've seen between Americans and Europeans is that Americans in general tend to value liberty, tend to value the ability to be free from the restraints of government, the policies of government, the taxes of governments. They value that over and above the equality of outcome. That is, they value liberty and my ability to do what I want, to say what I want, to work how I want, to earn as much money as I can. They value that freedom over having everyone in society be relatively equal in their material outcomes. Now, if you go to Europe, they tend to value equality at least as much as liberty. And I mean equality here as far as the material outcome of its citizens. People in Europe tend to be a little bit more acquiescent, or a little bit more, we'll say, willing to up the amount of taxes they pay, to up the amount of government reach into their societies in order for people around them to have the opportunity to live a better material life. That sentiment is not necessarily shared by American citizens, or at least specific types of American citizens, conservatives, Republicans. Now, I think this is a really important distinction to make because I've had a lot of discussions as I'm living over here in Europe with a lot of Europeans who seem to not just disagree with some of American politics, but really fundamentally disagree with the value system of particularly conservative and Republican Americans. And I wanted to make this video just to explain, where those people, these conservatives, these Republicans are coming from. And basically what they believe is that the state is not a vehicle, is not the proper vehicle for realizing or advancing individual human beings. That is, Republicans, conservatives would want to say, hey, look, the state, all it should do is protect our property, protect our borders, build our roads, and ensure safety standards. Other than that, they should not be in the business of dictating who wins, what kind of business should be made, how much money you have, these types of things. And the reason why is, if you go back to the Founding Fathers, they wanted to create a system where each individual person could be free from the overreach of government to pursue their own conception of the good life. And so when you grew up in America, the American dream is, hey, you can do anything, you can be anybody, you can work in any type of career path. The government is not going to hinder your ability to do what you want to do. It's going to give you the opportunity, an equal playing field, to go out there, study what you want to study, start a fresh business, not be burdened by taxes and by social requirements, so that you can realize your conception of the good life. And Americans, particularly Republicans and conservatives, are very much averse to anyone who says, hey, look, the federal government should step in and intervene in any sector or any section of something that they consider to be individual rights, individuals' ability to choose and to engage in those types of activities that they want to engage in. And crucially, conservatives and Republicans generally think that the taking of taxes, the government coming in and taking what you've rightfully earned to disseminate it out into the public, is unjust. Now, some conservatives and Republicans believe it's unjust purely because they think the government does not have a right to what I've earned. Many other Republicans and conservatives also believe that it's unjust because they think the government is not a very appropriate apparatus for redistributing wealth and for providing social goods. Many conservatives and Republicans would say, leave that to local charities, leave that to churches, leave that to social groups within your own little neighborhoods that you can police better, that you have a stake in. So conservatives and Republicans would say it's unjust for the state to come in and take away their property that they've rightfully earned, A, because it's just unjust as a principle, I've earned it, it's mine, and or B, because the government is not a very effective or efficient distributor of those goods. Now, to my conservative and Republican friends who are always baffled at, how much taxes German citizens pay or the bureaucracy of France, what I would want to tell y'all is Europeans, continental Europeans in general, have a very strong sense of equality. They value equality. And I wouldn't say they value it more than liberty, because they also have a very strong love of freedom of expression, free speech, these types of things. But they definitely elevate equality of outcomes for citizens in their society above what Americans and particularly conservatives and Republicans do. Now, here's the issue. How can you argue which is better than the other? How can you argue, is liberty better than equality, or is equality better than liberty? These values, liberty and equality, are basically incommensurable, right? They're unable to be judged better than the other. And so depending on your own beliefs, how you've come to rationalize what you think the government should or should not be doing, that's how you're going to come out on this issue. And it's very, very difficult, and I've noticed this within the United States and within these different countries themselves, it's very, very difficult to convince people one way or the other. Usually, the only way you're going to convince them is not on the basis of whether liberty's better or equality's better. Usually, how you're going to convince people is, hey, actually, the free market or the government is not the best instrument to bring about what you're trying to say. So if you believe in liberty, some people on non-conservative bent would say, you believe in liberty, we think that the free market privileges a specific sector of society, and it actually, what it does in that sense is it actually inhibits the liberty of the bottom 40-50% of society, because it elevates the liberty of these people. And so you say you're after liberty, we think the free market actually hinders many people, a large portion of your percentage of your population, we think it hinders their liberty. And so that's some of the ways that people try to argue against these points. What's very, very difficult is to say, well, equality is better than liberty, or liberty is better than equality. Likewise, people who value liberty will say to people who value equality, hey, you value equality, but actually what the government's doing is it's reducing the standard for everyone. Your society can still be equal. It could just have a higher standard because the government has come in and it's put in a bunch of red tape. It's put in a bunch of bureaucracy. It's put in a bunch of roadblocks to progression, to progress in your society. And so that's usually the way to go about arguing between liberty and equality, because it's I've very seldomly, if ever, seen somebody actually be convinced about the other side. If people strongly believe in liberty, they're strongly going to believe in liberty. It's going to be very hard to convince them that equality is something better than liberty. The same thing for people who believe in equality. And so the policy debate needs to be about, I think, which one of these instruments, the free market, local society, or a centralized government, which one of these instruments is actually better at acquiring those goals that you have, be it liberty or equality. Well, what do you guys think about this issue? A, do you value liberty more, or do you value equality more? B, do you think the government or the free market is better at attaining these specific values? And C, do you think that we can actually even argue between liberty or equality, or should we keep that to the ivory tower of political philosophy and academia? Over to you guys. Comment below. Let me know. Keep sharing the videos, guys. Let's keep sharing the movement. Let's progress the movement. And remember, as always, ladies and gentlemen, reality always trumps ideology, specifically when you're talking about liberty or equality.